I shouldn't have stepped inside that apartment. I never understood why some people leave their doors slightly open. Maybe it's carelessness. Maybe it's some weird kind of trust in the world. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a trap. I work as a bike courier in a big city, so I mostly deliver food. But sometimes it's small packages or documents. So usually, it's simple: show up, knock, hand over the package, leave. But last week, I got an order that still keeps me up at night. It was late, almost 10 p.m., when the app sent me to an older apartment complex. The building was run down, graffiti on the walls, flickering hallway lights. I climbed the stairs to apartment 4B, where I was supposed to deliver the package. The door was already open. Not fully, just a crack. Just enough to see that the light was on inside. I hate when customers do this, so I knocked and called out, "Hello? It's delivery for you." No answer. I called out again, louder this time. Nothing. I thought about just leaving. But then I noticed something strange. Right next to the door, on the floor, was a pair of shoes perfectly aligned, as if someone had placed them with a ruler in the spirit level. I don't know why, but that unsettled me more than the open door. A weird feeling crept into my stomach. I should have just left. But instead, I stepped closer and knocked again, this time directly on the door. It slowly swung open. The apartment was unsettlingly sterile. No decorations, no personal belongings. The furniture was old and worn, but everything was perfectly arranged. The walls were Burno pictures, no shelves. And directly across from the door, in the hallway, stood a camera on a tripod. The lens was pointed at me. I felt my neck tense up. "Hello." My voice sounded too loud. It's too foreign. Nothing. I thought about just setting the package down and getting the hell out of there. Then I heard a faint scraping sound from somewhere inside the apartment. Someone was in there. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but my feet didn't move. I strained to listen. The sound came from the bedroom. And then I noticed something even more disturbing. The apartment didn't smell like anything. No perfume, no food, no human scent. Just sterile, empty air. The scraping got louder. I took a step back, my eyes darting around the room. And that's when I saw it. The bathroom door was slightly ajar. Through the tiny gap, I could see an eye. Someone was standing there, completely still, watching me. My breath caught in my throat. Then, a sharp creak behind me. I spun around. The apartment door, which I had left open, was now shut. I didn't think. I grabbed the handle, yanked it open, and ran. I bolted down the stairs, heart pounding, head spinning. I didn't stop until I was on my bike, pedaling away as fast as I could. Only when I was a few blocks away did I dare to look back. In the window of apartment 4B, a figure stood motionless, staring down at me. I never reported it to the police. I wouldn't even know what to say. But ever since that night, I feel like someone was watching me. Always. A weeping demon is hunting me. So this started all happening about maybe 5 or so months ago. The first time I heard it was as I was coming back from school. I was early since we didn't have pay. And because the unusual schedule, I'd taken another bus to family that I had in another part of town. It was my uncle and grandparents from my mother's side. But scratch that. That's not what you're here for. I should mention that this wasn't a school bus. It was obviously a regular bus. So almost everyone besides me and a few kids were adults, where I went to high school. You would just take any bus that would come around when school ended, so no buses came exactly when my classes ended, and that's why I'd go to my family's. I'd have to potentially wait an hour or more because pay didn't happen. Despite it not being packed with teens, it was still very loud. The driving bus noises and people talking sounded like a constant buzz that never got quieter or louder, but even so, I could hear the faintest of sobbing behind me. I sat near the back right. There were maybe 4 seats behind me. Han, someone there was crying. It wasn't quiet, but it was just above the noise level the bus was making. It sounded like a woman in her 20s, or maybe even a younger teen. I didn't dare turn around, however, as the image of confronting a woman discreetly weeping in the back and making her feel even worse didn't sit right with me, obviously, so I just stared ahead, my gaze dancing across the city. The crying, however, quickly shifted from rapid inhales to very audible sniffles and the occasional sobs again. I didn't bother to look behind me. I didn't want to embarrass this poor girl or whoever was behind me. A couple minutes passed and we were approaching my stop. The bus was much quieter now since most of the passengers were gone, making me realize that the crying had stopped. I still didn't want to fully look behind me, so I turned my head to the left a bit, and judging from the shadows cast on the seats I was looking at, nobody was behind me. The fuck? I thought to myself. I didn't see anyone getting off who looked distressed or sad. Hell, I didn't see any women get off. What could have happened? Now I had the courage to fully turn behind me. Nothing. I got up and checked around and under the seats. It's probably to the horror of the bus driver, wondering how a kid on this bus got a hold of drugs. There was nothing. I got off at my stop, which was right across the street from my uncle's home, so I looked both ways and crossed. I wondered to myself, could I have somehow imagined that whole ordeal? It had happened before. I could recall imaging an entire scene where I got out of bed and turned on the lights, only to be brought back to reality. I was scared, shirtless, of sleeping alone back then, when I was 6. This incident never faded from my labored mind as the coming days passed until Thursday. It was the same as last week. There was no pay again, so what usually made me happiest. Well, let's just say I'm no athlete. Oh, but there was that experience from a week ago, nagging at me silently. The thought that something was behind me for half an hour, breathing down my neck, possibly mimicking the sounds of a woman in despair. Waiting for the moment I turn around so I can capture my gaze and tear out my eyes. PFFT. I step onto the bus in a good mood that day. I make my way to, I shit you not, the exact same spot. It was my favorite spot. I'd always go there. Strange, actually, how I have a favorite spot for every different bus I go on. But nevertheless, here I was again, about 15 minutes into the ride, as I was on my phone. Numbers and patterns flick before my vision as my brain tries to no avail to solve a sticky situation in Minesweeper. So I groan in annoyance and out my phone away, looking out the window, out the town. I liked two people watch a lot. Yes, I know. A hormonal teen watching as couples live my dream. Laugh all you want, but it genuinely was a nice, albeit creepy hobby. And my skills in picking up the subtle details on people's surely would fail me now, as I spot a woman on the bus, staring at me. She was on a backward steer. Most faced toward the front of the bus. However, a few faced the back. This woman's face, it was pale, her eyes wide with confusion and immense worry as she stared at me. Here eyes darting around the features on my face. Wait a minute. She's staring behind me at that moment. I hear it, the soft sniffles and sobs of whatever is behind me. I freeze up, mimicking the woman's face. She seems to notice this as her gaze flicks to mine for a moment. Not a moment later, at the next stop, she gets up and makes a swift and efficient exit, weaving through the crowd like a sewing needle. I watch as the door shuts, with only 2 people in the front seats now. It's just me, and I don't know where I grew a big enough pair for this. But I slowly turn to the left. I glance at the shadows. Not only do I see a woman with scruffy-looking hair sitting behind me, but her shadow isn't staring at the back of my head. No, its face in the shadow, my gaze. My head snapped forwards again. I'm not sure what scared me more. It's the fact that she was still as a statue as she sobbed, or the fact that I couldn't feel any breathing on my neck. This ... thing. It wasn't human. For 15 long minutes, I sit there, hoping if I ignore it, it'll go away. I stare out the window. Can't I see its reflection? Eventually, I decide to get up, making my way to the front of the bus. I couldn't handle the sobs anymore. Very slowly turn around to face it. Now a solid 10 feet away, at the center of the bus. As you can guess, nothing. I couldn't hear it, couldn't see it. I go back and search around the seats thoroughly. The bus driver didn't think I was high before he was sure, certain now. Again, nothing. The drive and walk back home. I don't feel like I'm in my own mind or body. I've never felt this terrified and stressed before. This was a new height of horror. that I thought only my academic worries could reach or challenge. I'm sure my family could read the terror scribbled on my face that day, but thankfully, no one questioned me. Thursday, I prayed that there's pay. I couldn't do this again. I'd happily take my classmates' distasteful comments about my athleticism over that again. But again, I'm subjected to this torture. No, I won't do this again. I'll wait for the bus to my home. Waiting an hour is nothing if it means I don't have to face the hellspawn again. The bus to my uncle's home arrives, and the bus driver stares at me with a confused expression as I do not get on. At this point, in his mind, I'm on meth. In mine, I'm being hunted. The bus passes by. I'm not sure what wills me to look downwards, but I do. Anything but eager to see that thing in the back seat. As the bus passes, I feel a weight lift in my chest. I let go of a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I'm free. This surely won't be the only time. I'm more than happy to wait an hour for the bus home. 2 days later, my mom comes into my room informing me about an article. I couldn't really understand much through her panicked speech, so I asked her to send it to me. My pay professor was dead. I read further through the article. She was found dead in her home. Her body looked pale and bony. The skin around her face was red from tears. There's a picture included of her body in her house, but that's not what I'm focused on. I know it's there. I know it's taunting me. It's in the corner of a hallway where the camera blurs because of the focus. Scruffy hair, a red glowing iris, staring directly at the core of my being. I can almost hear the sobbing again. Almost I die. I turn around.